Hello and welcome to Inside the Burrow, the FAU podcast for and by fans. My name is Dan. I am joined by Jack and Shane as usual. And tonight we are going to take some time to celebrate the conference championship game. FAU victorious over Alabama Birmingham, 40. I don't know. We won by 40-something points. That's all that matters. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and then maybe we'll do a little baseball preview. Maybe we'll talk about basketball, something like that. I don't think there's much other than that to talk about. But yeah, I mean, at FAU, it was. I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I should have bet the house, literally my house, although I'm renting. Should have bet the house on FAU covering the spread because there was no chance that UAB was gonna. I think that the line closed at -9 for FAU, but yeah, I mean, it was nice. It was kind of just like, we go out and dominate again, and it's kind of crazy to think about. Like, we were in the conference championship game, which I think most people in the Conference USA are aware that UAB really was the third best team in the West, but it was the conference championship game, and it was over, in the first quarter. Excuse me, and we won by 40. So I don't know, Jack, what your you had the bird's eye view up in the press box. What was your thoughts regarding this game?
Yeah, bird's eye view for a pretty boring day, like you mentioned, Dan. I don't think anything else really happened this weekend for FAU football. Just a conference championship game. It was great. It was great to see. UAB, we kept talking about issues with their quarterback, issues with their running back, the strong defense, and we just blew them out of the water. It wasn't even a contest. We mentioned it last week, a couple weeks ago as well. Out of the three teams who could face in the West, we definitely wanted to play UAB the most because that's who we thought we had the best chance against. And you see why. I'm sure I'm happy we didn't get Louisiana Tech with Jamar Smith back and all. Just a great day to be an Owl. Everything considered. Now, seriously now, everything considered with Lane, we couldn't have a better way to end an era. And that's something that we're going to be talking about later on for sure. I thought it was interesting that Chris won the MVP. I voted for Malcolm Davidson. He ran for 130 yards on 11 carries, I want to say. Didn't score any touchdowns, while B.J. Emmons had a pair. D'Angelo Antoine had a big day as well. I thought Chris played fine, got the job done. It's kind of been what he's been doing the whole year. He hasn't thrown the game away from us like he did last year, his freshman year. So good to see. And, God, how about that defense? By the way, Devon Brown led the team in tackles with 8. He was all over the place. Chris Tooley, FBS leader in interceptions. All this talk about UAB's defense. And I think Kiki Leroy even mentioned this a little bit during the post-game presser. I think the defense kind of took that personally, and they had something to prove when they were on the field. Overall, great day. So it's just awesome to pop champagne again. Great feeling.
Yeah, I mean, one thing just to point out, and kind of bring it always back to recruiting, that just wasn't about us out coaching them. That there is a talent difference between those two teams. The team, granted, we've talked about we don't think Conference USA West is very good, but FAU beat still a 9-win Conference USA team out of the water. I physically dominated them. I mean, there was not a position on the field where UAB was better than us, even close. I mean, they completed 8 passes. They only had a handful of first downs. It was just complete domination. The block punt was just a blast.
Yeah.
When's the last time you blocked a punt for a score? Was it New Orleans Bowl? Did we score on that play? Can't remember. Austin Jensen.
Well, even blocking a punt. I mean,
yeah, I can't remember the last time. You never see it. You don't see as much in college football anymore because the rugby style.
Yeah.
But block a punt is just amazing, and it was just fun. It was, God. It's I tweeted out yesterday kind of after kind of the news was breaking with Lane and we were kind of wrapping up some of the stuff, that FAU had beaten over its 3 years, the average score versus Conference USA opponents was like 36 and just 36.6 points to 22 for Conference USA. For us to average beating Conference USA opponents by nearly 2 touchdowns and a field goal is insane over a 3-year period. I mean, that's Clemson, Alabama stuff.
Yeah.
I go find me a team that's beat it probably throughout history in G5, probably like some of the runs Boise State was on when Western Kentucky had those 2 really good years. But I mean, and we even had a year where we didn't have great football in the middle. So just for us to still be that dominant in a conference is amazing. And we can talk about coaching we want, but man, there's a lot of really talented football players. I had a chance to, off the record, just down on the field after the game. It was a lot of fun and just talking to the coaches. And I remember one, I said, man, can you imagine if we had all 3 of these backs healthy all year?
Oh my goodness. I mean, it would have been we
could have ran the triple option.
Yeah.
We could, FAU could just do that at this point. Just call Monken from Army and just be like, hey, you want to come here for 2 years while you have these 3 backs? And we just want to be a triple option team. I mean, but it's just the defenses. I mean, we just talk about it every year. You know, we just stack all these high 3-star DBs we get out of South Florida, and like you just see the product paying off. I mean, it's just
So mentioned Miko Dotson, you know, had another interception, leads FBS in interceptions. Didn't even start the beginning of the year. You know, and FAU, you know,
he's not even a starter in most packages. FAU runs a lot of packages with him on the field, but still him and Tooley. It's Pierre and Tooley, the outside corners. I mean,
it's just kind of yesterday was like a microcosm of just like what we hoped for, what we really thought could have happened, and you know, again, it was we blew him out. Chris had a decent day. You know, he had one bad throw, that one interception, but at the time we were up. You know, he was probably like, all right, let me see what I can get.
The throw to Harrison in the corner of the end zone was an elite throw.
Unbelievable throw. Gorgeous.
Harrison Bryant ended with 1,000 yards. Basically, like he took that 1,000-yard catch and got popped right over the middle, and then he was done. It was I'm not going back in. He got the 1,000 yards, you know, and that was kind of a big hit over the middle. And it's like, all right, well, let's. Yeah. As soon as he reached 1,000 yards, he was done for the day.
You know, it's crazy is that he mentioned this during the presser. The coaches thought that he was actually at like 995 late in the fourth quarter. They miscalculated, and they almost sent him back on the field in garbage time with Nick Tronti out there just so he can hit the 1,000-yard plateau this year to help win the Mackey Award. I thought that was hilarious. I mean, that's just typical Lane Kiffin football right there. You know, making sure that his players get as the best stats that they can, try to pad the score, pass the eye test as best as possible. He's going to need that at his new job for when he, you know, goes 7-5 and he plays for the Gator Bowl. Yeah, not bitter at all, if you guys are wondering. So that was great to see. Icing on the cake, no doubt.
So I think maybe again it was a party all the way around. We all enjoyed it, and again, yes, there was a lot that happened, and it sucks. You know, we're now back. Shane tweeted out the Boca Raton Regional Airport tracking information, so you can keep a track.
I was trying. There was a flight from Knoxville today. I don't know. I didn't think I'd find anything interesting. Like I did tweet out. There was a lot of flights from Boca to Miami. It's my goal is to have that type of FU money where I can just hop on the private jet to go a county. But, you know, I don't know. It's just, you know, again, you know, we could thank Lang for everything we did. Yesterday I kind of woke up and I told people I wasn't as devastated about the whole thing. I think because we had a Conference USA Championship to look forward to, and you know, there's still a lot of fun with that in the end. 2 or 3 years is amazing, especially when you see, you know, Marshall fans trying to fire Doc Holliday. You know what I mean? When you see and then you also kind of, I thought it helped when you see like the other G5 school, Memphis, Norvell getting hired away. And it's like, this just isn't us. This isn't even
State.
This is everywhere.
Appalachian State, they had a coach for 1 year, and he's going to Missouri, I think.
Yeah.
So, again,
I mean, we could be in the same boat next year. We could go out and hire a coach and win 10 games again and be one and done. It's just, I said this, App State's a prime example. Your program has to be bigger than the head coach, where he's just a piece of the puzzle as opposed to the whole program. It did hurt today seeing some of those Lane tweets in Ole Miss and Lane tweeting about Ole Miss, and it's not come to the FAU anymore. That hurt a little bit, but I think there's some growth opportunity for FAU in this situation. But the biggest thing is we could talk about ADs all we want. We could talk about marketing. We could talk about concession stands. We could talk about who they hire as on a smaller sport. But this is why ADs get hired, and this is where they make their money, is this hire right here, right? I mean, ADs could 99% of their job can be great, and if they don't hire the right football coach,
right,
that's just kind of the nature of the beast with the job. But again, we've talked about our faith in White and Kelly on this podcast numerous times. Just some of the names that are floated out there, and I think at the G5 level, there's not going to be any perfect candidate. You guys know I was heavy on Jeff Scott. He's from Florida. Hopefully the Kelly connection, but it seems right now there's some reporting just before we went on that it's looking like him in USF. I'm a big fan of Butch Jones. I thought he won at Central Michigan. He won at Cincinnati, and he went to Tennessee, and he even had 2 9-win seasons there, kind of in the middle. And Tennessee was a dumpster fire because Lane left. So, there was kind of a lot going on with that program. So I kind of just want someone I know is going to win. I mean, if they're going to be a first-time head coach, they better be coming from a program where they're dropping national championship rings, And Butch, again, he's gone through the Saban car wash, per se. Went there and been an analyst for a couple years. And sometimes you pick up 2 or 3 things. Oh, this is more so much. We could sit here and we could talk about play calling. And this is a big talk with a lot of people throwing Kendall Briles names out there. I think Kendall Briles, to a degree, we can argue about, is an offensive genius. But do we know his level where he can run a program at this point? I mean, being the head football, it's like being a top sales guy, where all you do is you show up to work and you got to make sales all the day. And you say, oh, well, he's really good at sales. Let's make him sales manager. Then all of a sudden, well, you're not making sales. You got to deal with an HR issue. There's an accounting issue. You got to make the schedule. And all of a sudden, you're not good at sales anymore. And it's just hard for me to get a read on Kendall Briles, because his fault or not, and definitely not his fault, but I mean, he was at 2 places where the coach was fired at the end of the season.
Yep.
I'm not blaming him for not being able to save their tenures, but it's like, I don't know if I want a coach that ran the day-to-day operations like Willie Taggart. I mean, Florida State, a lot of stuff was a show there. So I'm not crazy about Willie Taggart as a name here. As people throw Charlie Strong's name out there.
No.
He's done nothing but lose football games.
No. Please, God, no.
Show me. Just give me someone. The biggest question I ask, I think all fans of this, do they have a history of doing more than what they've had?
Bingo.
That's it.
Doing more with less.
Yes. Doing more than what they've had, whether that's from a coordinator position consistently or, or a history when maybe they hit one bump in the road like Lane. Lane's past was very unique. You never see this. But in the end, I even argued when we got here, he still won 10 games at USC, and then sanctions kicked in. He still was the closest to beating Alabama while at Tennessee that 1 year. It looked like he had him going down a good road. He just kind of changed over. And then Lane was always an offensive genius, but he kind of almost needed that final season in from Saban being like, it's more about just calling the right play on 3rd and 5. You know what I mean? It's about making sure your assistants and freshmen don't talk to the media and getting kids to class and doing all that type of stuff. So You go ahead, Jack.
I was going to say, Shane, and Lane is going to be the first one to say that it was Saban that taught him that stuff.
And you could see when he came here, anyone that covered him, asked Jake Elman, that he picked up on all those things. Look at his press conferences. There's a little bit of snick in there. Now he has his own kind of funny Twitter, we know, Lane spin on things, but I mean, he learned a lot from being under Lane, and he realized it's more than just about calling plays.
So because we pivoted to coaching now, I just have a question for you guys. We already got Shane's 2 coaches, but Dan, 2 coaches that you're looking out for, and one that you're saying absolutely no. For my no, I'm saying no way to Charlie Strong. I'm deleting you out of my life if you want Charlie Strong at FAU. Sorry. For pickups, unlike you, Shane, I'm a big fan of Willie Taggart. I think he'll do great at the mid-major level with that style of offense.
But like, we'll debate him after. I want to hear.
Yeah. You mentioned Jeff Scott, Clemson OC. I'm high on, but Glenn Spencer. I'm worried that I'm worried that he can leave if we don't hire him as a head coach. He does have head coaching experience at University of West Georgia. Did great things there. Was defensive coordinator at Oklahoma State for a decade, I want to say. I mean, the Pokes aren't known for their defense, but at least he has that high up caliber of experience. It's not just Charlotte and FAU. So that would be great to see. So what about you, Dan? What do you think?
I'll say I'll have to think of a second one, but my top one is Jim Leavitt. He had success at USF and then, left under some controversial circumstances, but that was over, that was almost 10 years ago. He's kind of bounced around. He was in the NFL for a little bit. He was offensive or defensive coordinator at Colorado State, I think. He spent a year at Oregon as well. So certainly he comes with some baggage. And like Shane said, he's a group of 5. This type of head coach. If they have head coaching experience, they're not gonna be perfect. I'll say flat out that I do not want, and this always happens, Eddie Gran, Jed Fish, or James Coley. I feel like every time any job gets open, any group of 5 job opens, Eddie Gran is a candidate for like the past 5 years, and he hasn't gotten a job.
10 years. We were talking about after Schnellenberger.
Right. Yeah. Even then. So like, just let's get that out of the way. And Jed Fish, I thought he did well at Miami, but he hasn't been in college since 2011, 12. I mean, like I thought he was fine at Miami, but he coached in Miami and in the state of Florida for like, I don't know, a couple years. Let's just get off that train there. But
did you have to say train?
Yeah, I'll say outside of Jim Leavitt, I would be one of the offensive coordinators from Clemson. I think would be good. And the Butch Jones argument makes a lot of sense.
It's interesting. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I think
it's interesting you mentioned James Coley. If you go to James Coley Wikipedia page right now, at the top it says, "I was fired at Georgia because I suck." The Georgia fans are obviously not happy with him. Also,
you ruined Fromm. Sorry to just yell at in the middle of that.
He hasn't done anything. I mean, yes, he's one
coach under Golden.
Right.
He was Golden in Miami. Like,
he's known as being a great recruiter, but like he can't stay at a job as a coordinator for very long. It's like places will bring him on just to have him, almost like Charlie Partridge, to be a good recruiter and just put him on staff and then take away his responsibility.
And I think it's G5. They run a pro style offense. I mean, right. G5, we got to spread it out. This is what we do. We got to go fast. This is how we score in G5. I mean, give me a successful G5 team running a pro style offense right now. Name, I'm asking. Jack, do you know? I mean, Boise, maybe it's a little bit more West Coast.
Not one on top of my head. And I think if you do, they're going to run like a hybrid from the pistol, if anything.
Yeah, Boise is the only one I could think. That's kind of like, but it's more of like a West Coast style. Like it's a single back type.
San Diego State, but they're in the middle of a rebuild right now.
Yeah, but they're good. They have a good defense. San Diego State's a good one. They kind of run that Stanford style. Okay, that's.
But I mean, they're not blowing it out of the park like they did.
No, they don't score. They win with defense and turnovers. I love defense. I want to win with defense and turnovers and score 49 points.
That's it. Oh, that sounds familiar.
Like we did yesterday. So it's just.
I want to put something in. Go ahead, finish your thought, Shane.
I'm just gonna say there's gonna be no perfect coach we hire at the G5 level, right? Like we can poke holes in any of these guys. I can even make the argument with Jeff Scott that he's only ever been at Clemson his entire life, which is concerning. Sometimes I like to see the coach that's worked his way up, coached, FCS, grad student, went to this school, coach with this area, coach under this staff for a little bit, coach under this staff. In the end, Saban make the Lane thing again. He coached under Pete Carroll and Nick Saban. I like to see guys that have kind of bounced around and have being like, oh, cool, he coached for that really good program. He was just an assistant wide receiver coach 10 years ago. Then he came up and coached for that good coach. And you kind of want to see that. And these guys get a little bit of seasoning from learning from all these good head coaches. So that's what I look for in a head coach. So, hopefully FAU can kind of make that happen.
And it's good because that way you kind of just learn a lot from everything. One more name I want to throw out so I can literally throw it into the dumpster is Kaiser head coach Deg Socha. I'm sorry. Great for Kaiser for what they're doing, guys, but Jesus Christ. Really? Because
he could be – someone could bring him on as an assistant.
That'd be great.
If we brought him on a staff, could you do you guys realize how big of a jump NII is to Division One?
Yeah,
man, it's like
jump hasn't worked out
maybe in 10 years. I think Clint Trickett's going to be a head coach, a great head coach one day in college football. Yeah. I want to see him become the head coach 10 years for FAU. But you still you gotta see. I don't want to see him go other places. He's a great football coach and recruiter, but you just need more experience in the jump from it. And the scholarship system isn't even the same.
Yeah.
You got to realize, guys, FAU's got Football Scoop just came in the article. FAU wants to hire a coach by Friday, and I just released it kind of how this is going to affect recruiting. We got to sign 10 to 12 guys and do crazy recruiting. Our staff is on the road recruiting right now, not knowing if they're going to be there.
Yeah.
In a couple weeks. And we need a coach who's going to come in and absolutely know the college recruiting system. Be like, okay, I know how early signing day works. I know how this rule and this rule. I know if a kid takes a visit before and a new coach comes, he can come back, after. It's just a couple people suggested Rex Ryan.
Good God.
Does he even know what the early signing period is? Think about that. He runs a good defense in the NFL, but what does that have to do with signing 3-star kids? Yeah. It's not the same thing. You need to know you need to go look at a kid. Anyone could walk on a high school football field and be like, that kid's amazing. I'll be like, well, he's committed to Georgia. So which kid here can you turn that everyone else might not know that looks good that you think you can get to come to your school that isn't committed to Alabama, right? That's different. You have to be doing that for a while. You need to know what that athlete looks like.
And I think the failed Tony Sanchez experiment at UNLV
is
a perfect example of why that just doesn't.
None of those Bishop Gorman kids ended up really going there.
Nope.
They were like, oh, cool, our former coach is at
right down the road.
Right
but
down
I'm
the
still
road.
Going to go to Stanford.
Cool, I'm going to USC.
Yep.
I'm going to Ohio State. I'm going to Miami. Brevin Jordan went to Miami. It doesn't work like you think, I don't know.
We got negative.
We'll see. It's going to happen quick. We'll have an emergency pod for when it does happen.
Yeah.
So we're going to plan that. We'll be with you guys all week. But I guess right now, the transition, the other big news of the day, FAU has garnered its 8th home game of the year in the Boca Bowl.
Woo!
Listen, I know fans were upset, and I was initially upset. But I kind of took a step back, And I get we want you to go to New Orleans, but New Orleans never takes a team. They always have a regional team, always, right? Always have a regional team. Sunbelt champ goes there, and they always take a regional team. That's what they do, okay? They go look for – they haven't had a team from, like, Florida there in years.
Since we played there, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's always like
it's why FAU played Memphis when we went to New Orleans. And Memphis was like third or fourth in the conference of Conference USA back.
Yeah, but Memphis to New Orleans, they always take a UAB, a ULL, a ULM, Troy. They always want a team who's just going to bring 15 to 20,000 fans locally, and that's what they've always. Yeah, it works for them. It's a great bowl. You know, then it probably came down to Gasparilla. You know, for FAU, I understand the players want you to travel, but you know, FAU probably weighed the decision that they didn't want to play a rematch game on a Monday at 2 p.m.
Yep. I
get a lot of people. I think that's on the 22nd. A lot of people have off for Christmas and stuff, but it didn't work out. I think one of the national writers tweeted out that there's only a handful of bowl games featuring 2 teams with over 10 wins. It's like all power New Year's 6 games. And us. I mean, SUMU's a great opponent. They're the 26th best team in the country based on like the votes and both polls, and they could score. They're a storied program. They'll probably travel well. The game's on a Saturday at 3:30 on ABC. Has FAU ever played on ABC?
Never. FAU has never played on ABC. FAU has never been on one of the 4 major networks at home either. We've been on Fox twice, but they were both at Oklahoma and at Ohio State. We know how that went. So I'm right there with you. Dan, I want to know how you feel about it. I'm disappointed because I wanted everyone from Allen Nation to come up to Tampa. But, you know, I posted this question earlier. Would you rather play someone like Tulane in Tampa at 2:30 on ESPN on a Monday, or SMU with 10 wins? You win that game, you might finish the season ranked, and then make a push to go to New Year's Six Bowl in 2020. I know it's down the line, but that should be the goal after a conference championship. Should be a New Year's Six Bowl for this program, and that's going to be the best route to do that.
My thing, a lot of Owl fans was I was initially annoyed because it's just like, come on, there's got to be something. There had to be something better, especially after seeing UAB going to get to go to New Orleans. I didn't want to go to Shreveport. I didn't want to play, you know, UM or FSU or something like that. I want to beat them, but I want to beat them when they're at their best. Like beating UM now would be like, well, yeah, you were supposed to beat them type thing. Same thing with FSU. But again, when you take a step back and you realize just how good, I mean, the Boca Bowl is a good bowl. And I mean, in the past, it's always been a good bowl. It's just kind of like, it's just annoying. The team won't, you know, they'll get to, I think they're staying at a hotel in Jupiter. You know, my experience from this, and I was kind of talking with somebody on Twitter about this, as a band member, as a spirit team member, like the traveling that you get to do with the team is like, was some of the most fun, and really honestly helped me cement my fandom in FAU, helped me stick through those 2009 to 2017 years, was because of the experiences I had like that. So I mean, that's kind of a bummer. The band, I think, does get to stay at the hotel and stuff like that. But you're not, there's no bus ride to some place. There's no experience where things like that. So that's kind of a bummer, but you know, again, it's a good bowl.
New Orleans is an experience, but
yeah,
could you, when FAU fans and maybe even FAU players, when you guys are old, sitting in your rocking chairs, looking back at your life, are you going to look back and say, man, I never got to go to Shreveport, Louisiana in December? Well, I mean, I missed that experience.
Yeah.
I never got to go. I never got to pay. And I looked up flights, $750 so I could
Yep.
have 7 layovers, so I can eventually end up on the last leg of my flight on
We'll rent an
on
Oakland.
on basically a plane that's 100 years old, going into Shreveport, Louisiana.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm
Come on.
just saying that's what I wanted to do, but I think again it's a good bowl. You know, we can
5 of the last 6 Conference USA champs have played in this bowl.
Yeah,
It just
it's
so
a premier
happens to be
bowl
a
now.
home games.
It's become a premier G5 bowl. I mean, it's in our own backyard, but it is what it is.
Go look at this. Before Boise State won, they're big in Mountain West changed around when Boise State was still in the WAC, and just before they beat Oklahoma and the great trick play game, they played in like the Idaho Potato Bowl in their home stadium. I think some ridiculous 5 or 6 years. It was just like Boise State wins the WAC again, they play in it. So that means in a few years we're definitely beating Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. It's gonna line up that way.
There it is. Excited to see it. I was getting excited to have the 3 of us stumble around either Bourbon Street or Ybor City and Soho, but
they're not going out in Ybor.
Ybor is not as bad as everyone makes it out to be, okay? I'm just saying.
Yeah, okay.
If you're willing to go to Bourbon Street, then you're definitely willing to do 7th Avenue in Ybor City. So we'll settle for Atlantic Avenue instead, boys.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a good opponent. Basically, everything about the game.
This is an exciting opponent, like
right. And hopefully, my concern, and maybe if you guys want to talk a little bit about this, is attendance. There is a lot of talk about attendance. Certainly, FAU finally got a sky cam, and for the game, and all the sky cam did was show empty seats from different angles. But Conference USA Championship game, and as a native South Floridian, as somebody who has been at FAU for a long time, I'm sad to say that I'm not surprised at the turnout. And FAU caught a lot of flack for that. Like, how could this be? This is a conference championship game. But again, there comes a point where you have to put up or shut up. But also for those people, like, we live in South Florida, and the local state institution.
I get that, the whole South Florida thing. We're not trying to. And I've always been an optimist with attendance with FAU, and I've always said, since I've attended FAU, the school spirit growth has been great. Whether we see it kind of or not, just people wearing stuff around towns. I think there's generally more fans.
The number of people tailgating.
Yeah, just people. And I think for the first time the last couple of weeks, I've been really disappointed in attendance. Or I was just before I never really cared. I wasn't one of these people who fought over whether we had 14,000 or 17,000 in a game. And it just you haven't felt like I was talking to someone. I remember Charlie Partridge's first home game, even after a loss. Like, the student section was full. Because remember, he did the whole thing where he'd wear the red pants the second half if the game was sold. We played Tulsa at home. Yeah. And he wore things, and there was 5,000-6,000 students there. And it's just, man, if you would have told me that we would have played a Conference USA Championship game at home and we'd have a quarter of as many students that were staying in the student section at that time, I would have never believed you. It feels like, for the first time, it feels like it's getting worse.
Yeah, and we don't know why. I mean,
yeah,
the
students have just gotten to this point, and I was tweeting about it today. I'm so in. And I think this thing, we talk a lot about FAU needs to market this and that. And I think there is a million things FAU could do better. And athletics should be the first one to tell you. But I'm just at the point where it's like, dude, it's on the FAU fans. There's enough of us walking around. I'm just like, the students, I think it's, people are like, well, FAU needs to create a culture to get the students in. Hey, they let them tailgate behind the stadium. They don't really push the rules on them. They're not out there going through checking every ID. Okay. They offer them T-shirts, pizza, like they do everything they can. And people are, what do you want them to do? Do you want them to hold the students' hands and walk in the stadium? At a certain point, it comes down to student leadership being like, hey, bro, don't think you're too cool to go watch a football game. Right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's just that's just what it is. The Greek organization's pathetic. They've just done pathetic. They've gotten worse over the last few years when it comes to supporting the school. And there has to be a question of, you guys keep asking for stuff. You want housing, you want this, you want that, but why? Why should any of it be given to you? Sorry, I'm ranting a bit. I was in a Greek organization, and I know how it is. We ask. School needs to do this. School needs to do this, but you don't do anything for the school. I don't care how many 7 kids raised a bunch of money in your fraternity. One thing, charity. Really, we know how that works. 4 kids raise it, and everyone else just parties. But it's at a certain point, it comes down to, on the home side, like, how many of your friends are you asking every week? We talked about this last week, Josh. I said Josh, Jack. We talked about this last week. It's like, we're the biggest marketing tools for FAU. Absolutely.
They can only do so much. With you coming from a fraternity member at FAU, you were dealt. I'm AE Pi. Extremely disappointing. You just see them all out there in like LeBron Lakers jerseys, just raging their face off, and then you see them collapse, pass out, and then just crawl back to IVA. And it's just so frustrating to see that they literally have to go right past the stadium to go back to their dorms or cars, and they just do that.
And we don't need to be FIU, because FIU kind of had this issue, and they took tailgating away, and students just, what kids do is they rebel and say, well, they're not going to make us go to the game. But again, I think we kind of had this conversation at the beginning of the year. I think after Middle Tennessee, we talked a little bit on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're just – I think if you looked them in the face and you asked the question, be like, why are we doing this for you if you're not going? I mean, because there's no if there's no benefit in it for the school to let you guys have all this fun, we can't just throw a party for you. Yeah, so tell me why we should do this for you, and then let them sit on that for a while.
Anything, it's a liability, because remember during the Lockhart days when you would have federal police going through the tailgate looking for
and FAU doesn't do that. They have a few police out there just kind of monitoring, make sure nothing's too.
Yeah.
The fraternities all have security at their tents and stuff, so they're not going out there going, you check your ID, or they might get a couple kids a game just to show a presence. But come on, it's eventually the school has to be like, why are we letting you do this if you're not going to support us?
It's a liability at that point.
Tell me.
It's really frustrating. The amount of people that it doesn't make, to me, it does not make any sense. The amount of people that I see dressed like to the nines in FAU gear, like head to toe, just like with face paint and stuff like that, walking back to the dorm as the game is getting started. I mean, just like they just go in droves. And again, we're airing our frustrations here, but it's like, what do you do? Why are you getting dressed up?
It's on student leaders. And you student leaders and organizations and kids that are older in the fraternities, if they kind of just set an example and call those kids out and be like, yo, no, we don't do that here. Most kids are followers. They're just going to do what other kids do. They all leave the game, so we do it too. So it doesn't take a lot of kids to kind of change a culture. You know what I mean? I know this from personal example, personal experience at FAU, doing this in an organization, getting people to go to the games.
What's crazy is they're like, well, you guys are just FAU. You're not, UCF. You're not Florida State, whatever. We were the only ones in the conference championship game.
Not even that. You are the culture you create. So It's like, there isn't a great culture inside. You're not going inside. There's this whole lack of self-awareness. Yes. It's like, so I'm just at the point where it's like, we could talk about what FAU athletics can do a million times, but I think like this summer and, depending obviously who the coach hires and stuff, I think this is like the first time, and we were just kind of hoping Lane and the Lane train would draw tickets. It was like, this is like this real kind of, I don't know, like look yourself in the mirror, Owl fans, and let's just have some like deep discussions how we can change this. Because I'm a big believer in just a few people can make major changes with this type of stuff. We're just trying to fill a 30,000 seat stadium, and not even, do we just get to 20,000 a game?
That's it, just 20,000.
If FAU just dominates Boca, Deerfield, Delray, Boynton to Palm Beach, just that little cut of South Florida, We're not talking about Miami-Dade or Broward, and that's more distracted down there. Just that little cut. FAU will have plenty they need to have a great game day atmosphere every week.
We're all pretty grumpy for champions, guys. I got to tell you.
This is
I just think there's a lot of change going on with the program right now. It just feels like a big turning point.
It's worrisome.
We closed a nice chapter yesterday, a really great chapter, the best chapter in FAU football history. And we could do the who is a better coach, him or Schellenberger debate, but maybe we save that for a slower day.
Yeah.
But, there's just a lot of change right now. And I think, there was a little bit of a wake-up call, I think, with some things yesterday again.
Well, one of the things we'll kind of circle back and maybe end on this, but think of where we were, how Lane put us in a much better position. Think of the coaching search that's happening now compared to a few years ago, where we are. I'm going to say this, and I have FAU has shown I have faith in the university, and I don't say that often, but President Kelly has shown that they are going to offer the money to make this a competitive job, and I trust Brian White because he's been successful, and I like a lot of things that he's done. But think about where we were a couple years ago, where the top coaching candidate was the defensive line coach for Wisconsin, right? It's in Charlie Park is what I'm referencing. There's going to be some very, very competitive candidates, and we're not going to say who's that guy when they get hired. Whoever that may be, we know that this. With the Schmidt Center, certainly the stadium, you've got your starting quarterback could potentially be the MVP this year, and certainly for future years. Obviously a hotbed for recruiting, but the facilities are a game changer. You've got a president and an athletic director who are going to work to make this make you competitive and to take the next level. I feel better about the search than I did previously. And I think that's also something, again, there was a lot that happened and a lot that changed in the past 24 hours. But, also FAU was ready for this. They had an announcement as soon as the game was over. Lane announced that he resigned. They had something prepared saying the search, is underway. And I anticipate them to move pretty quickly because Lane probably let them know that he was leaving Thursday, at the latest, I think. And so they probably knew what was going, and they're probably already started reaching out to coaches and things like that. And they are using a search firm just for what it's worth.
We'll see. I mean, Football Scoop, like they said, they want to coach by Friday. So we'll hopefully know. We'll be rolling into Saturday either really happy or tons of questions.
Yeah. So we will we'll recap, what's when that announcement happens. We'll definitely keep an eye out for that. And as always, make sure you're following all of us on Twitter, which I hope all of you are. And for any of the latest news, we know that recruiting news will be coming up pretty soon. And make sure you're checking out FAUOwlsNest.com for all the latest things that are happening. So we thank you for a successful year. FAU is Conference USA champs once again, 2 out of the past 3 years. Really, there's a lot that happened, but I hope that you guys can maybe take some time to think about this year, think about what we accomplished and kind of what we overcame. I say we, we're part of the football team, but as a fan, what you had to go through. And, just really appreciate what the team accomplished. And, we'll be with you as things change, as things go on. We'll be with you guys, and I hope you'll follow along as well. So for Shane and Jack, we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us this year, and we will see you next time. Go Owls.